here with Carlos Hernandez. So you're a serial entrepreneur, speaker, and you're really known for sales. But before we even like talk about that aspect of things, kind of give us your origin story of how you got into business, how you got into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. It's an honor, first of all. So my story is pretty simple. I actually am just very grateful, maybe a little bit of luck, I don't know, but my family was very hardworking, and I've seen, my uncles get involved in entrepreneurial stuff. So it's always just been around me. So when I was 15, 16 years old, I was buying things from China, waterproof phone cases, and selling them on the beach. Also, when I was out on vacation, or like whenever, wherever there's water, bodies of water, I'd be selling the, waterproof phone cases. And I was practically a teenager. So took that money and just reinvested. Like I just learned how to take what I made and put it into different areas that can make more, right? So that's where I got started, was just my family, little projects like that. And then one thing led to another. I could tell you a whole list of things that I've done, but it'd take forever.
So you had mad side projects, mad side hustles rather, but when did you first establish your, like an actual business that's more, I guess, on the long-term side?
Yeah, I would say personally, I've actually recently started a business for the long-term side. It was when I moved to Pittsburgh, and I want to say when was that? Sorry, I have my partner here. He came with me too. But I want to say this was June of 2019, where I stepped away from a company, from a mentor of mine. He's still a great friend, like no bad blood at all whatsoever. It's just that I wanted to, spread my wings and do my thing. But I want to say, 2019. And previous to that, I helped my mentor create, a million and multiple $1 million eventually business. And that was pretty fun. I was with him for multiple years.
Wait, so you didn't, to provide context, did you go to college?
I didn't go to college.
So okay. So you didn't go to college.
Well, I went for one semester and then I dropped out.
Oh yeah. Okay. Tell us that. Like, what was it? What happened there? Like, you just one semester was like, okay, this is not for me. I'm out of here.
Yeah. What happened was I loved the things that I feel like were more practical. So I did acting, I did speaking, I crushed it at those classes. But when it came down to getting, you have to do general education to get to your actual major that you want, which was ridiculous to me because I hated English, the writing aspect. I hated the math aspect, things that we don't really use that often. So I just realized I could use this time way better than what school was going to give me. And for what I need, I didn't need, there's no degree. You don't need a master's degree or even a bachelor's to create an LLC. That none of that's necessary when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So obviously it takes education. I believe in self-education. I believe in finding the right knowledge, but I know that school, and especially college, and that time and energy that I was using there, it didn't make any sense in the long run.
Now, I can definitely testify to that fact that, going to school for 4 years, college for 4 years, there are some classes there that are like, what the heck? Like, why do I need to take this? I'd rather take other more important classes, but I wasn't allowed. I had to take those general classes. And it does suck though. You could utilize your time a lot better, and that money as well, right, into other projects, because those courses can cost thousands of dollars, if not. Now, so you said you moved to Pittsburgh with your partner. That was recent though, but before that, you had your mentor. How did you find your mentor, and why did you get one?
Yeah, it's a great question. How did I find my mentor? This was, since I was a young kid, 15, 16 years old, I started going to a lot of conferences, and that was one of the biggest blessings of my life, is just connecting with a variety of people since I was 16, since I was a young kid. And so at this point, when I meet my mentor, I was 17 years old, and it was actually because I put myself out there a lot. My uncle said, hey, look, this guy, he helped me get really incredible results. He's flying me out from Mexico to Newport to speak at his event. Do you want to go ahead and, you want to take me? I don't have a ride. And but he also knew I was into that stuff. So I said, of course. I was in, and he got me free tickets. And when I went to this event, it was called How to 10X Your Business Online. I just knew that this is a guy that I wanted to learn from. And so I got really, blessed, lucky, whatever you want to call it, right? Or preparation. Like I took a lot of action previous to even finding out about that event. So all these things come into account where I met my mentor. And I just said, hey, look, I went to him and I talked to all his team. And I just said, look, I want to work for you guys for free. I'll do whatever it takes. And I did. I want to say for about 2 months. And some follow-up. It wasn't that easy or that quick before I got that first interview where they actually took me serious. I had to constantly bother their team and say, hey, look, I'll work for free. They interviewed me. They gave me the time of day. And thankfully, for the both of us, it was super mutually beneficial. But I worked for them for free for a couple months. And then I started to get paid per project. And then from there, I basically became an entrepreneur where I created my own value, right? He realized that I had a lot of skill sets that I brought to the table, which led, a huge role to our sales growth, which led to huge growth in our recruiting and hiring talent. But yeah, I just became an entrepreneur and started working alongside him to build, a business and a brand for his products and services. So I just really had to put myself in the right place. And then I worked with them for years.
Let's talk about that for a second. Like say you're working with a partner, with a team, and you're not like the leader or whatever, right? But you want to bring something to the table. And like you said, in your case, you were an entrepreneur, you brought value to a team. How do you do that exactly if you're a person, trying to work your way up and make something of yourself or just to provide more value?
Yeah, that's a great question. What it really is, I feel, is you have to take the time to put more value and go that extra mile, right? It's like you have to separate yourself from everyone else to even be in that type of position, to ask for any type of, for the ability to work from home, for the ability to, bring more to the table and get paid more for it. Like there has to be some level of separation and being that person before you get that role or that title, right? Because a lot of people, like, they wait. They're like, once I become the manager, or once I become, a partner, or once I become, whatever, then I'll work harder, then I'll have more incentive, then I'll do this. It's like, no, in order to earn those positions, you have to be that already. You have to bring that value and come heavy with it, so that people, so that they can see that this person is worth listening to. This person is already doing those things as if they were a partner, as if they were a manager or the sales manager, whatever. Like he's going above and beyond, or she, right? So it's just a matter of just becoming that person and doing that right away and offering those ideas. A lot of times there's, depending on how big the organization that you're working with is, usually there's people that really care about ideas and new ways to improve. And I always want to go to the decision maker, like who is the person that is going to be, that wants to hear that. Because not some people are just there for money. Some people are there just for to fill the position. But go to the people that actually care, and just show them what you could do, and come with some value and some data beforehand, right? Like don't just come with a handout, but I'm more ready to give. Like, hey, look, this is what I found out. Hey, this is what I did extra. And look, this is why I want to do this instead, or add more value.
And at what point did you decide, okay, I'm providing a lot of value, so much value that I think I should be more independent?
As far as independent within the organization, or independent of like?
Yeah, you're doing your own thing, your own products, your own businesses.
Honestly, that was actually surprising enough, it was that same mentor that I was the sales manager, and I took role as business development as well, like different roles, different hats in the company. But he even suggested, like I was at a point where I was 20 years old, I was doing pretty well, and he just said, look, you're at a level where, like, at this pace and with what you have currently, like this is kind of a cap, right? Like this is kind of your cap. There's more, but he's like, I want you to expand your wings and even be open to trying your own things. And he always knew that I had a mind of like different creative thoughts, and we'd even partner up on different business products and ideas before. But yeah, he just basically said like, hey, you know, I'll give you the go ahead, and it's completely fine. And so I remember he said that, and then as soon as he did, like, and this was in Miami, so I was on a flight going to Miami, creating a presentation, creating a product that I could sell. And what I concluded was, I'm going to help real estate agents build a quick brand and create ads to generate leads. And so I created a whole presentation on the plane so that by the time I landed, I came ready, and I marketed myself to all the real estate brokerages, and they let me in, and I trained and I sold. And within the matter of a week, it was like $8,000 in a week.
Hmm.
Right. And I was like, wow, this is pretty awesome, with my own product, with my own service. And so, you know, it just opened up my mind to so much more. But it was basically when he just said, it's time for you to fly. And that's what I did.
Wait, one sec. So you said you wore a lot of hats within the team. Now, what were the things that you did, and what were the things that you were more specifically good at?
I was definitely the best when it came to sales management. That was my whole focus. So every single week, just constant trainings in person, and they're also recorded. So we'd have like an online platform to train a team of over 70 reps at the highest point, where we were, you know, the business model was different in the sense that everyone was paying $97 a month to be a part of the company, to learn how to market themselves and generate leads, to be appointment setters, so that closers, we would close the deals, and they would get commissions off of that, and it would also be residual. So we gave them an opportunity to build residual income selling digital products and services, and they paid that every single month, right? So we grew that to over 70 people internationally. I would train them every single week, and I would build out the e-learning programs and sales manuals, and then I would be closing deals, you know, like taking calls every single day, just like prospecting and being on Zoom calls, closing deals was like all I did every single day. And so yeah, I got that really ingrained in me. And then the other hat was just like, I'd recruit a lot of people. I'd have to be a really talented recruiter, and get more people to sell the products, to get more appointment setters, to just grow the bottom line.
Wait, so at the end of the day, you were just really good at sales, but also training teams to get better at sales. And did you incorporate like systems and processes here as well?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Now, how does it feel? Like you said, you're 20 something, and I don't know, you may be training people who are in their 30s or 40s. I don't know. But point is, you're training someone and they're hearing from someone who's very, very young. Was there any point in time where like, what am I doing here? Or do you get that feeling that people were like, okay, I don't want to listen to this kid or whatever?
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of times I have a lot of awesome stories too, you know, where I work with people double and even triple my age sometimes,
Yeah.
and I help people, you know, double my age get to the point where they buy themselves a Lincoln, right? Because because of our sales trainings, because of our products, like I've been able to bring all types of results for people of all ages. But, you know, I could see for people starting right now, for people that are, say, like before 21 or even in your early 20s, right? Where when you're sitting in rooms with, say, business owners, they've been around for decades, millionaires, you know, people just that are playing at high levels. It's all about posture, right? Posture, confidence, and all that only comes with experience. Like there's no shortcut around experience, especially in order to get to that high, like that point where you're sitting with these high level people, right? Like that doesn't come to just anybody, because people can sense if you know what you're talking about or not. People that understand softwares, that understand systems, that understand all this. Like if you don't understand that lingo, then you're not even going to have the time of day in a lot of these rooms. So it's just a matter of knowing what you're talking about, and knowing what you're doing, right? Testing it on yourself, testing it on other clients. If you don't have clients yet because you don't have that brand or that credibility, doing it for free and saying, hey, let me just show you what I can do. Let me just practice with 300 a month, whatever. Like literally doing anything it takes to gain that experience, that skill set, and so that you can finally, grow the experience to have posture in those situations. But it really, and that's sales, right? 101 as well. It's how you posture yourself when you're talking to them in person or on the phone call or on a Zoom call. It doesn't matter.
So you think it's important that even if you have no experience and you're just starting out, just to do free work, get some experience behind, and then really from there, like just scale.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to get some testimonials. You want to get to the point where you're actually you can, like, there's a quote and it says, "I don't fear the man that does 1,000 different kicks or hits. I fear the man that does one kick 1,000 times," right? Because that person that just boom, 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 that just executes on that one thing. So just get good at that one thing. If it means creating sales pages and websites, right? Just get really good at that, and then start selling that like crazy. Or
Mm-hmm.
let's say, advertising or whatever it is. Like, just get really good at hammering and knowing what type of result you can bring, and then just sell that result to the people that need it most.
So you never had what they call the shiny object syndrome, where you had mad ideas and you kind of just do everything, and in the end, you don't do anything.
No, I had plenty of that. That was my, we skipped between 16 years old to 18 years old, and even 19, right? Like, as I was growing, and even in these cases, there's a lot of the grass is greener on the other side, but now it's just doing things smarter, right? But anyways, back then, right, I dealt with plenty of shiny object syndrome, where I just jumped from one project to another, to one business to another, and I realized I was getting no results, right? I was like, or if I did, it was super minuscule. It's like I'd be doing 5 different things and I only made like a couple hundred here, maybe like 1,000 there. And then, like, another 1,000 with this project. And then, like, it was never major, but I would just be having all these different side hustles and never doubling down on one. So, like, a lot of people will try to build multiple stories, right? And I do believe in multiple streams of income, but there's like a process of building it where first you have to get one really good solid stream of income, right? Or right now people have jobs, getting a side hustle, but making that side hustle dependable and consistent, where you have that first story built out. And this might take some time. This takes, not everything comes that easy or that quick, but you'll have to put a year or 2 or 3 into it to get it to the point where you can get that to 100,000 plus year stream of income, or at least have some level of consistency before you can start uh, dedicating time to other projects. Because if you just do too much at one time, then you're going to get overwhelmed. Things will get sloppy. Very, very little will get done. So you definitely want to have your dependable and consistent stream, and that first story and that strong foundation where, no matter what, I can always just dial in at this and I know I'm going to create income,
Yeah,
right?
for
And
sure.
so until you have that first, like, income ability, that skill set, that's when then you could start creating different side hustles or different projects. um, but yeah, I have some different beliefs about that and how to do multiple things at once.
Now it's definitely easier said than done. But let's go back to sales for a second. So, what makes a good salesman, a good saleswoman? Like, what do you need in your arsenal to be a good salesman?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Honestly, the biggest thing in sales is communication, right? And what is communication? Like, commu- sales is just being able to listen. And I don't even want to label it under sales. Communication is just the ability to listen, understand, and and move something forward, right? So listen, understand, and move something forward. Like, a lot of people are quick to word vomit, or they get on a call and, you could already sense someone's intentions by how they're pushing, a product, or asking, um, questions that don't make sense or that are kind of tricky, and they try to loophole, like, people that have weird sales tactics, but you can see it. So, like, I avoid all that stuff, and I really just pay attention to who I'm talking to, right? Do I have a process of what questions, or like how I take them? Absolutely, because I want to get them from here to here, right? I want to get them from just meeting me to scheduling another call with me to be ready to purchase on this call. Or if I'm closing it, they're on that call knowing what's happening, being able to get them from where they are right now to what info they need to give me their card information. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I got that. So,
Okay.
what were you saying?
So yeah, so that ability to be able to listen, and my approach is consultative, right? It's very consultative selling. So I really want to ask questions because you want to be the person that leads the conversation, and the one who leads is the one who's asking the questions. So that means that you want to assess, am I talking too much, or am I, the one, am I listening? You want to be the one that's listening more and not just, blabbing all the time. So yeah, you want to lead the conversation. You do that by asking questions and paying attention to what they're saying, right? Taking notes. Like if you have a CRM, a way of tracking, that's a good habit to build. But at the end of the day, just pay attention to what they're actually saying. And then having the ability to have empathy and reiterate and let them know, hey, look, I heard exactly what you said. Let me just clarify, this is what you meant. Okay, perfect. And so what do you think has stopped you from getting there, right? And now they're going again. Now they're like letting it all out. And so it starts with asking questions.
Now, what's the first step? What's the first step in the sales process? I mean, if you're in a sales team working for an e-commerce brand, for example, or an agency, and you're looking to get leads, what's the very first step? I know there can be many ways to do this, but in your experience, what's one of the first steps you had to take in terms of making a sale?
So, well, first you want to have some source, like some form of lead generation for yourself, right? That's
Okay.
obvious. That's like the number one, which means you need a nice brand, right? So for everyone, I always say, look, you got to start with your brand, make sure you have a good foundation, create some lead gen processes. You could do that through different social media channels, and make sure you're setting up these conversations, right? So that's the first thing. I set up conversations and I do it well. And so by the time I get on these conversations, I already have authority or credibility, right? That's a big thing that people don't think about. Excuse me. Some people are cool with cold calling. I've done cold calling and it totally works, but I prefer that ability to attract the right people. And so once I have them on a call, then I figure out like, hey, what is your goal? Like if, let me ask you, well, first you want to build rapport. I'm skipping a lot of steps. I'm getting ahead of myself here, right? Like you get, when I get on the call, hey, how are you doing? Where are you calling in from, Torrance? That's beautiful. How long have you lived there? That's great. I have family there. That's, all the regular rapport building stuff, whatever
Yeah.
feels natural. I never try to fake that. Um, and then I do move to that next question. So I transition and say, well, hey man, no, that's awesome to know. And look, I wanna just let you know, I want to respect your time, and I know we're both pretty busy people here. So let me jump right into it. I'm curious, like what's your ideal vision for your business or for yourself, for your health, whatever you're selling, right? But you want to ask them, what's your ideal vision 90 days from now? Like where would you like to be? And then I pay attention to that. Like what do they want? Because all we have to do is figure out what someone genuinely wants and figure out if they're qualified, right? That's an important part, the qualifications. So figuring out if they're qualified to even purchase what they want. But that's first thing, right? Figure out what it is that they want. So then once I ask, okay, that's great. Hey, I totally hear you. It sounds like this is what you want to do. You want to grow your business. You need more customers. And so let me ask you, what are you doing right now to do that? Like, what's your current process? What's your current campaign? And then I'd figure out what they're doing, and listen, again, communication. So I pay attention. I write, I take notes, and it's good for you as a salesperson. So you know what solution is going to be best for them. And so I just keep going deeper. Okay, so this is what you've done. What do you feel is the missing link? Like what hasn't been right about this process? Like, tell me what do you need? And then they'll say, look, I think what's missing is we don't have enough brand strategy. We have this, whatever they'll tell you what it is. And so once I have that general information, I figured out where they want to go. I created a gap, right? I figured out what they're doing and also what's that missing piece, so that they tell me, they're literally telling me, look, this is what's missing, and now you've created that gap, and I'm going to sell them that gap. I'm going to say, hey, look, I have that. We could close that gap for you, right? And so that's what the gathering of the information is for, so that at the end you could just say, hey, look, it totally makes sense. This is what you're doing. This is what you're trying. It sounds like this is pretty quick for, this is like, it's quick on your timeline, and you have a budget of $5,000. So this is what I best recommend for you. It's going to make the most sense. And, it's as simple as that. Like, you just get exactly what they want, and you show them how you're going to be able to put that into play for them.
So who do you primarily work with? Do you work with businesses that are in the service side, or businesses that sell high ticket items? Because I feel like if you sell a generic product or any product that's kind of not too expensive, then you can run ads on that and run systems, right? But if you're selling a high ticket item, then sometimes that requires someone to be on the phone to really close that sale. Or if you're doing a service, people want more information on that, because it's not just a one and done thing. It can be a week or a month, etc. Right? And of course, you need to have more consultation on that aspect of things. So, in your line of work, who do you really work with?
Yeah, so I close high ticket services,
Okay.
high ticket sales, and then a lot of times these clients, they're selling high tickets, products themselves, whether it's cars, homes,
Mm.
consulting services, like, and then obviously if you have like an e-com a product, right, or something, e-learning course, then yeah, that's all just traffic based. It's ad based, like the content you push. It's a whole lot of conversions on the sales funnel. It's the email campaign. That's a whole nother process of sales when you're talking about smaller products and just regular products that you'd buy off of a Shopify store. Um, these here are mainly, I love closing high ticket services and high ticket products.
Okay. So, in terms of that, what systems do you include? Of course, you said communication is the foundation of things, right? But you need to build on top of that with systems in play. Now, what tools and systems do you use for your clients or for yourself to really help you make that sale overall?
As far as like a CRM,
Yeah, CRMs, email, I don't know, like having a newsletter, for example, or email flows, etc.
yeah, no, I use it all, man. I play with it all. Like, we definitely use just the regular stuff that you find, like, MailChimp for simple personal campaigns, but just email. I've done text campaigns, but I don't do them at the moment. Um, what else? I use a lot of direct DM. I use a lot of, literally, I created a PDF called the Inbox Marketing Formula. I don't have it up right now. Or yeah, I got rid of ClickFunnels for lots of reasons, but I still have the PDF. If somebody wants it, you could just shoot me a DM and just say PDF,
Hmm.
and then I could go ahead and send it to you. It's pretty badass, but I would just show all of my clients, and even myself, I literally just use like the social media platforms to find the clients that I need, or to set up the phone calls. And I just manage my clients through my social media a lot of times. I use like HubSpot, just very simple CRMs that hold what you need and do what you need it to do. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's pretty
So,
simple stuff.
is it fair to say that you really want to boil it down to getting someone's nowadays their phone number, right? And then once you have their phone number, um, really just call them and try to get a meeting to close the sale eventually, right? And of course, to get that number, you can do multiple things, such as like getting leads or creating content online so that people can check it out, and if they want more information, they can hit you up, right? But in reality, the thing that boils down to is just getting their contact information so you guys can just chop it up.
Yeah, you definitely want to be able to reach out to them and also have positioned yourself the right way, right? Because
Okay.
if you put yourself in their shoes, they probably get a lot of people trying to sell and pitch them. But if you just separate and you have like a different level of positioning, which could mean, like, let's say you were a referral. So now they're going to look at you way different because their mom referred them, or their best friend or their partner said, hey, you got to talk to this guy. So like, just create the positioning that's going to give you the leverage when you're on the phone call, right? And then,
Hmm.
otherwise, then you're just cold calling, and you could
Yeah, I was
always
gonna
do
say
that.
that.
But
Yeah, because in
Yeah,
in a cold call, it's not like they're asking for you. You kind of have to pitch somewhat, and if you're pitching, then that means you don't have the leverage at that point.
exactly.
Okay, and so say you have the contacts, the leads, and everything, and you guys do end up talking. Now, where do you do next from that point? Do you want to have like a virtual meeting, kind of go over some things, and then from there, after a meeting or two, close the sale? Do you have a strategy in mind?
Yeah, so it's a simple 1-2 strategy. So once I generate that lead or I get that person, they hit me up, say, hey, someone told me to talk to you. Like, what should we do from here? So I always set up that first call where it's just information gathering, and I literally take maybe 15 minutes, no more than 20 minutes, to ask them those questions to get an idea of where they're at, what's missing, where I can come into play. I just listen to them. And then at the end, I put it all together and I put it in a super, like, you can't refuse it, like a superstar value proposition, so that they get with me on a second call, where on that second call, which will be now a little more prepared, more customized for them, and a little longer, whereas the information gathering is a 15-minute call, the second call is for closing, or it could even be in person, a meeting, right? And that's where you actually close the deal. So at the end, I put it all together, say, hey, look, this is awesome. This all makes perfect sense. This is where you're at. This is where you're suffering. This is what you tried with this budget. Perfect. What we're going to do is, look, I want to set up another conversation with you where we could actually hop on a Zoom call. I'll share my screen with you and show you the blueprint of how, we're going to fill the holes that you currently have and where we're going to get you more customers, or where we're going to do whatever service you offer. Right. And then that's where you're going to come in with, like, the whole pitch deck with the results, whatever the closing process is for you, or that very final thing is for you. That's where you bring out the big guns, and you take the payment as well.
Now, in your experience, in other problems that maybe sellers or people on the sell side ask you, people are gonna have tons of the objections, right? They're gonna not want to get sold or whatever. They're gonna have excuses. But what are some of the most common objections that you've seen, and how do you work your way around that?
Common objection that I've seen, I would say, to objections.
Like
I
maybe
mean,
for example, maybe like off the top of my head, like that they have a problem and you have a solution to it, and they're just procrastinating. You know what? Let me think about it, even though you know you have the solution to the problem. Like, how do you delegate that? What do you do after?
well, the thing is, I feel like if they don't want it, I'm not really talking to them. Like, I understand people will have some objections. Usually the objections are even like between the gatekeeper and all that stuff. Like, they'll just say, like,
Okay.
hey, are you a vendor? Right? Are you or they'll say, hey, are you what's it called? I mean, in very, very, very few instances, they'll say, like, look, are you an actual company, or LLC, right? Or they'll say, because if they want it and if it makes sense and they're an ideal client, budget sometimes can be a thing, right? Sometimes a lot of like a lot of these clients too, when you hit the right market, they don't really even negotiate the budget. They're just willing to pay and get stuff done. So I wouldn't even say that, but that can be an objection for some people if they're selling like a high ticket product. Um, but yeah, I always overcome the objection while I'm talking to them, and in the conversation, but very smoothly, right? Because I already know that people are gonna have these questions, and also it's a good thing when they ask those questions, because that means that they're in like buying state, right? Those are buying questions when they say, okay, so how much is this, right? And that's a question that I wait for, because they've already seen all the value, and now they're wondering, okay, wow, this is great. What would this cost? Because they're interested in that. That's the only reason they ask that question. So I treat every objection as or it's not even an objection, it's just an opportunity. And because the only reason people don't move forward is because they don't have the information that they need, right? The only reason people say, like, oh yeah, let me just talk to my wife. Oh yeah, let me just talk to this person. It's because they themselves haven't got all the information they need or they're just not the decision makers, which you never want to, you don't want to waste your time with someone that's not a decision maker unless you absolutely have to get through to them. Um, but yeah, you solve those objections before they even come up, and then recognize when they do ask questions, they're just opportunities to give them the information that they need to move forward, right? To make it clear, because maybe sometimes when people try to sell things, they'll make something more confusing than what it is, and that'll throw them off, or that'll like people need it to be very crystal clear what they're getting, why it's gonna be good for them, what it's gonna come with, the price, the pricing plan. Okay, boom, credit, Visa, invoice, like everything should be super simple on their end, and they should know exactly what they're getting as well.
What are some common mistakes or biggest mistakes that you've seen that, people that you've coached before, what are some of the biggest mistakes that they commit?
The biggest mistakes, honestly, for people that I've coached, it's all mental. I think it's a big mental. They mess up mentally, where like they'll doubt themselves, or they'll doubt the process, or they won't be consistent on what they say they're gonna do. And like it all starts there, right? I think if you have a clear vision of something, once you have clarity, that's like the best gift you can ever have, because when you know exactly what you're looking to aim for, what you want to do, then you just reverse engineer it, and you just start knocking them out one by one, right? So if um yeah, I completely forgot what question you asked, but remind me one more time, because I know we were like, I wanted to make a
No, that's
point.
cool. Now I want to know, like, what were like the biggest problems that you've coached many people that want to be in sales and whatnot, or want to sell a certain product or service, but what's one common or
Okay,
biggest
okay,
mistake
yeah.
that people make?
So yeah, they reverse engineer, and they see every step that comes with it, but people just they'll mentally uh they won't make that mental decision to go all out, to go, you know, burn the ships, in other words, right? To just take
Mhm.
that first step, because they see the whole staircase, and then they're like, you know what, never mind. Or no, this is too hard, or this is too tough, or that's too many steps. But you just got to start knocking them out one by one, right? And if you have that mental aspect down, and you realize, like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes, and I'm gonna solve whatever problem comes my way. And if you have that attitude towards anything, then nothing should stop you. And if you have the right people on your team, and you have people to ask, and you have Google, like, there should be nothing to stop anybody. But the whole mindset game is where people screw up, and that's for people at high levels and low levels. I've seen it all.
No, yeah, I feel with sales, people don't like to listen to no unless you get very numb to the fact. And once you do, then I think sales can be a lot easier. But I think at the end of the day, I think someone told me that he specialized in the beginning. Uh, I think he was doing, no, he wasn't doing cold calling. He was literally cold knocking on doors, right? And I forgot for what industry exactly, but he told me that people think it may not work, but he got a guaranteed, 2% conversion rate, right? And that may seem low, but he did a semi high ticket product, a high ticket item, and it worked out very well. People can say, oh, cold calling, cold emailing doesn't work. But yes, the conversion rate might be low, but if you do it for an extended period of time, you are going to get those yeses. And that's really all that matters. And of course, you can add more to your arsenal into getting more conversions, either that's down in a DM, either that's knocking on doors, cold calling, or getting warm leads, for example. There's many ways, but I think that is true. If you're into sales, you need to have like a strong mentality, because you're going to hear a lot of no's more often than not.
Totally. Yeah, being able to have thick skin, being able to even let clients, let them go, or like even prospect, saying no to potential clients, because sometimes it's just not worth the money for the headaches that some clients can provide. So being able to walk away from deals, and just have that fortitude, like, people, and this is in all types of sales, from network marketing to business services, but like, people can sense desperation. People can sense, like, I need this to work. So like, you know relax. Like I just say like, look, hey, pretend. And I even tell them like, look, come into this thinking like, hey, you know what? Just don't even expect them to buy. Just like pretend like you don't even need them, right? First of all, just pretend they're not going to buy it. Just go like you don't need them. Just be confident in your abilities and what you have to offer. But don't be wanting of them. And just having that different like approach to things, people can sense like, oh wow, they're answering my questions, they're knowledgeable, and they're not like trying to push me on anything, or they're just like very chill, right? Like that's a weapon as well.
So you never expect anything. You just do your work, try to provide value, and if it's a match, it's a match, and you guys go to the next step.
Exactly. I have no emotional attachment to the outcome.
Okay, I like that. Now, going back to your business. So you said your mentor told you to like he let you fly. You're on your own now. So what was the next step? Did you kind of create your own agency all by yourself, and then eventually you created a team around you, which you have right now?
Yeah, that's exactly it. For a while, I just did it all on my own. Um, and then I realized I could only handle so much on my own. And then guess what? Then you only depend on yourself, right? So then it's like there's just so much that I realized. Well, if I want to grow to bigger levels, to enterprise level, if you think about it, a business is just a group of people, right? All these really big businesses are just groups of people that are smart, that make things happen, that stay true to their word, that have systems and processes in place in between them. But that's all that a business is, just groups of people. And so I realized I needed to create, my group of people, and people that
Mm-hmm.
want to grow to enterprise level with me, and people that are, like ready for that type of commitment and accountability and everything that comes with creating a team and a culture.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I've spoken to a couple people who have their own digital marketing agency, their own service, right? And they prefer working with a lot of contractors, VAs. So even though they're the nucleus of the whole business, they're really the only employer there, or the only person in that company. But you have physical people in your office. So, and I'm not saying it's bad to have virtual assistants or to have physical people, but in your opinion, why do you prefer? I mean, I don't know if you have VAs or not, but why do you prefer to have actual people in your business?
Yeah, well, it's all work from home too. Everyone's literally like, we'll be doing stuff from home,
Mm-hmm.
but on a daily, right? We have the daily meetings and whatnot. But I actually use both. I
Okay.
love people in house, and then all the tedious things or all the extra things or all that stuff can get passed to VAs. So I
Okay.
do utilize VAs, and then I also realize like having a personal team along with interns, and having people willing to learn and willing to put in some hours to also get experience for themselves and put that on their portfolio and kind of leverage the clients that we work with. So like, we get really creative with how we manage our work and then how we build our team. So yeah.
And how has building a personal brand helped you establish these networks and connections for you to hire, like you said, interns or people wanting to work for you or with you rather?
It's been essential. It's been the key thing, like working with a branding and marketing agency previous to this. And since I was 17 and a half, uh, you know, since I was a pretty young kid, I just realized, and actually even sooner than that, I just knew that your image online mattered, right? Like I knew that that's what people looked at. And so it's important to focus on being able to get your message out of what you do, right? And being super clear on what how you help people um, and portraying that image. So I just kept doing more and more of that, and I doubled down, and then I worked with this branding company. So I figured out how to actually have more intention behind it, and and it's what has given me more opportunities. It's got me in more rooms. It's got me in front of new networks. It's got me free stuff. It's got me all types of things. So there's like plenty. There's no reason why someone shouldn't be building a personal brand. Like everyone has a camera, everyone has thumbs to write. It's like build a personal brand, get a good message out there, get your following up, and like there's a lot of benefits when you leverage that correctly.
Now, when I think about, oh, when you said right there, it reminds me of Gary Vee and his whole side of business, because people want to do business with his agency because of him, right? Of course, he's not doing the actual work. He's really as the lead gen. Is that kind of how you see yourself as well, where you are the nucleus of the business and people want to work with your agency because of you? And that's the importance of having a personal brand.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's exactly right. People come to me to work with me, and I, share it with my team, or share it with VAs, uh, stuff like that.
And how do you know, or how do you know who to hire or what the right person? I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, if they're thinking about making that next step of hiring someone, I feel that they can sometimes overthink it. In your opinion, what do you think is the best process? Do you hire people who know what you're doing, or do you hire some friends and family, especially if you're just starting, and train them right to the level that you want to be? And if they're not cut out for it, then unfortunately, you have to let them go and find someone else.
Yeah, I got really just well connected early on. I got really
Mm-hmm.
lucky with VA stuff, and then ultimately I just went to like a bigger to an actual trusted company
Okay.
of VAs, um, because one, I could trust that they take care of your information. Two, there's a group of people, so that way they have different talents and different things that they do, but then they're also capable of being trained, and anyone can record a video on how to do something that somebody else could do. So I just prefer that versus working with one. And there's that route of literally like just interviewing a ton of VAs, and maybe you can find that one really good person that can do what you need to do, um, and scale with them, and lock it in at a good price. So a good price being like $3 more or less per hour. But I just prefer, I don't mind paying 6 an hour, but I get a whole team of people,
Yeah.
you know. But maybe that's future stuff. I mean, if we look at it from a higher perspective, that's 50% of the cost. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
eventually we'll do it. But as far as like getting it up and running, it's still not expensive, and and you can get really credible, good people early on.
Now, Carlos, if there's one thing that you recommend to any entrepreneur, either it's a book, a quote, a resource, what would it be? Like, what's something that's very essential that worked out for you that you recommend to other entrepreneurs?
What worked out well for me was definitely Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you haven't read that yet, I'd be super surprised. But that's a profound book for me. And then just doubling down on sales and communication. Like the biggest thing that I'd say is that you want to just dive in right now. Like all the energy, all the time that you have, if you just master and you take time to clear your mind of all the information overload. Because another thing too, people will tend to like want to learn everything and be a jack of all trades, but I highly just suggest to that person that you focus on one thing. Just find what you're going to get really good at and go all in on that one thing and become a master of it, and put yourself out there and build a brand around that and around that skill set, and just stay focused, and trust me, you're gonna attract the right clients. It's gonna be easy to close business for the entrepreneur, um, that's trying to figure things out. Just get really good at something, ignore all the static that's out there. One sec, there we go. Information overload, and focus on mastery.
Dope, dope. I like that. So, Carlos, if people want to learn more about you, maybe even get a 1v1 call with you or even work with you, where can they find you and hit you up?
Yeah, you could 1v1 me, Call of Duty. I'm free.
Yeah.
My handle on Instagram is Carlos H Martinez. So it's pretty simple.
Got
It's
it.
just my name, Carlos H Martinez, and then you can email me at Carlos at Ascension Auto Group LLC.com. And that's if you want to look into more of like that. We work with car dealerships specifically. If you have any questions or anything like that, but honestly, Instagram's the best way to reach me.
Dope.
So
So I'll put that in
shoot
the
me.
show notes. Yeah, and your email as well. So if anyone wants to click on that, hit you up, email you, then they can do so there. All right, Carlos.
Perfect. Thank you,
Dope.
and have a great time. Thank you for having me on.
For sure, bro. And one more thing. So the podcast, to be honest with you, I post one podcast at a time. So your podcast is gonna be uploaded in a little over a week. But of course, when I make the clips, it'll be uploaded in a week, right? And of course, it's gonna be on every single podcasting platform like Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, etc. And of course, like I said, I'll tag you on each of the clips I make on IG. All right.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'll share it. I'll make sure to share it with my people.
Dope. All right, Carlos. Once again,
Thank you.
bros, appreciate it. All right, take care.
Have a good day.
See ya.
Bye-bye.